based in San Francisco Bay Area, and she is the author of the best-selling career guide, Work with Passion, How to Do What You Want for a Living. She comes to us with her new book, Work with Passion in Midlife and Beyond. Reach your full potential and make the money you need. She will invite us to ask questions about your career concerns and then respond on the spot using intuition and insight. Wow. So be careful. No. She will work with individuals to show how to find the right niche in work and how to be happy and productive. So, without any further ado, speaker Nancy Anderson.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, I would prefer not to get up on the stage. I'll get so enthusiastic I'll step off, and that'll be the end of the presentation. What a wonderful group that you have. Thank you so much for having me. I noticed when I was listening to everybody that you're all in varying stages, which is what I love, because the one thing about passion is that you never know when it's going to show up. Sometimes it's early in life, like the question that, Patrick, you had everybody ask, what were you thinking about when you were 18? They're little glimmers, they're clues at that age, but probably all of you have noticed that your life is developmental. You have different stages of your life. When you're in the 17, 18, and 19-year-old stage of life, that's when you really start the experimenting, and you're looking out and you're going to try a lot of different things. It's really not the time to focus. When the time to focus is midlife. And that's the reason why I wrote the second book, Work with Passion in Midlife and Beyond, because I noticed working with my clients that when they got to a certain age, there was this tremendous upheaval happening in the inner part of them, which they weren't able to understand. They just thought, well, something's wrong with me. I'm having the midlife crisis or whatever. And it's not really that. What happens to us when we hit about 40, 41, 42, right in there, actually it starts about 38. The first glimmerings of feeling restless, like, is this it? Why am I here? What the heck did I do that for? The kind of questions that you asked yourself when you thought what was making you happy just doesn't make you happy anymore. Now, happiness is one of those achievements, that we're all after. But I think the definition of happiness that I like the best were two men, one of them was Rodin, the sculptor, who said man will never be happy until he has the soul of an artist. By that, when he takes pleasure in his job. And the second, Aristotle, said that happiness was the full exercise of your natural talents on the path of excellence. I'm paraphrasing. So the full exercise of your talents, how could you possibly do that when you're 18? Or 25? Or 35? Because you are still developing and growing, and a lot of people expect children, and this is what I hear a lot, and I don't work with young people that much. Usually 28 is about the youngest age that I will work with because they just simply haven't lived long enough. They don't know enough. And so if you try to force passion, or if you try to force achievement, or if you try to force fulfillment at too early an age, that wreaks havoc on the psyche. However, once you get to about 40, 41, 42, if you are not making that shift in values to look inside of you to find what will bring you fulfillment, what will be the full exercise of your natural gifts, you will have a very psychic disturbance, what Carl Jung wrote about. And all of his patients were older. And he said what he noticed about all of them was the ones that were coming to see him, they were not making the libidinal shift to refocusing libidinal energy into activities that were creative. In other words, they were still trying to live as though they were in the first stage of life, where the libido is out there. You're going and you're trying this, you're having sex, you're having partners, you're changing partners, you're all over the place, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. When I was on the radio one time, a young man called in and he said, well, I'm graduating from college and I really would like to just go around the world and my parents want me to get a job. I said, well, your parents may be mad at me, but I think you should go around the world. The last thing you should do is to go from one structure to another structure. What you need is unstructured time, and that is the seedbed of creativity, is unstructured time, where you're spontaneous, you don't know what's going to happen. So I said, if you are going to go traveling, go where you've never been before, like Star Trek. And so when we got off the air, the interviewer, who had been on the radio quite some time, he says, it's amazing you told him that, because that's exactly what I did. Invariably, when I'm talking to somebody, I notice the conversation shifts around to I very quickly, because we're all most interested in ourselves. And I think what I'd like to convey to you today are some clues, some tips that will help you to get more in touch with who you really are, your authentic self, which, by the way, does not even start to emerge until you're midlife. So don't even try to find it when you're younger. Isn't that great? See what you have ahead of you? My younger clients get really mad at me. They say, well, you mean I have to wait? They want it right now. Authenticity, by that I mean when you are who you really are, underneath the layers of family and cultural conditioning. And it's no accident that I have my clients start with writing an autobiography that begins with their grandparents. Because when I was going to UCR, my main interest is writing and literature, and I thought, all my professors thought I was going to write psychological novels, and they were very disappointed with me when I wrote a how-to book. Well, Nancy, I didn't think that was the kind of book you were going to write. You know how snobbish, polysyllabic professors can be. I said, well, I didn't know that's what I was going to write either. It just happened. And that's, again, another clue to the passion. It's what you don't really plan, but it just starts to push its way through, and it makes you do it, even if you don't want to do it. See, that's authenticity. What you have in your mind as your agenda, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to be, if you're not open to what the authentic self really wants to do, you see, that's what causes the midlife crisis. That's what causes the feeling of alienation. Because basically you're at war with who you really are. And see, my values were very intellectual. That I thought, oh, well, I'll just think my way through life. Yeah, right. Well, that also will cause a very interesting nervous breakdown, which many people have, because they think they can think their way through life, they think your way through passion. You can't. You have to feel your way to passion. So to become adept at feelings, that's really why I think that I was led into the business that I wound up doing, because it's not what I would have chosen consciously. I mean, I'm sitting there on the 40th floor of the Pyramid Building talking to a guy who used to be in charge of the entire Pacific Basin for a large major bank, and he's telling me how he's going to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. And I'm thinking, now how did I wind up here? I don't know what to say to this man. And so what I did was I just pulled on what I knew from raising my kids. I calmed him down. I said, well, I don't think that's a very good idea, Bill. And he said, well, then I'm going to sue the bank. They should never have fired me. This is a very proud man. For 25 years, his whole identity had been tied up in this bank, and he'd had all the prestige, and he knew everybody in San Francisco, Patrick. I mean, he knew the Giannini. So, it wasn't like he needed me to give him contacts. But what did he get from me, and what I learned as a result of working with him and other clients, was emotional support. Somebody who could be there even when it looked like it was never going to turn out. Where did that come from? I don't know where that came from inside of me. But that, again, is where the authentic self is going to come out and come forward when you're faced with a crisis. And if I had put myself in that place consciously, see, I would never have done it because I didn't think I could do it. But I had just agreed to help this man I knew to start this business called career counseling in 1976, which I'd never heard of. Nobody had ever heard of then. And then I was going to go on and do what I wanted to do, which was go to law school and write about the law. And then I would keep myself way away from feelings. I would just think, and I would be very detached and very distant. So the passion is going to take you into territory that terrifies you. It's the last thing. It's like love. You know how love is so terrifying? You know personally, right? Yeah, the drive-in movie. Well, see, remember I used the word libido earlier. In the first half of life, the libidinal energy is directed into sex. When Work with Passion was first being considered for publication, was a co-publisher on the East Coast, and he told my publisher at that time he was very interested in the book when he heard the title because they publish erotica. I said, well, did you tell him it was not erotica? He says, well, Herman, he just likes sex, anything with passion in it. And, in a way he was right, because working with passion, you do connect with the libidinal energy, but you connect with it in a way that's not physical sex, but it is the same high, and that lasts and lasts and lasts, so that you don't need another person. If you're really connected in the second half of life with a libidinal flow of energy, which means redirecting it into spiritual goals. And what are spiritual goals? Goals that have meaning to you. And only you. You can't start with looking out there to find, okay, well, that has meaning, and I'm going to go do it. Like the latest, hottest trends in business. You see those articles. Well, I'm going to do one of those, or I'm going to get in one of those businesses. And that's the opposite of passion. Passion is something that comes from deep inside of you. It's always been there since you were very small. But it takes time and it takes history. I was talking to the women at my table where I said, it's interesting because listening to everybody's stories, there were little glimmers of what they were going to do when they got older. But it takes time and it takes history to intersect with a human being and the development. Where is that going to flower, and when is that going to flower? And right now, the reason why this is such a wonderful time, even though the economy may seem like it's really the blockage, it isn't. Because in 1976, when I got started, that was a pretty bad recession. And I was glad I didn't know there was a recession going on, because then I wouldn't have done it. So ignorance is bliss. So, the economy will go up and down, but passion lasts forever. And if you understand that, you won't be so concerned about what's going on in the outside world, but you look and you're concerned what's going on in your inside world. Because if you can tune in to the authentic self, you are right in tune with your historical moment in business. It's just uncanny the way this happens. I've seen it over and over, where people come up with what they want to do, and it's exactly what the marketplace needs. But it would not have been successful 5-10 years earlier. Because it's not just them that's developing. The world is developing too in terms of its needs. So there's this constant interplay. Like my work, when I started, there were very few women that came up the express elevator to the 40th floor of the Pyramid Building in 1976. And, I just started off as the office assistant. I was just going to help him get the thing up and running, and then a year, I said, okay. He asked me if I'd help him because he knew I'd had businesses and I was pretty talented. So that's a good way to start, by the way, where the stakes are very low. Because, you don't really have to do anything except just be yourself. So what happened was that as the clients were coming in for their appointment with the career counselor, I was out in front, and I'd get them coffee, and they'd start talking to me about their problems. And so I said to my partner one night, I said, these people that they're not ready to go out there and talk to people, the career counselor you hired doesn't know what he's doing. I said, I'm really concerned about them, because I'd been a journalist. I know how you go out and meet people, and they're not ready. They don't know, so I don't know what he's doing back there when they go in there. So he said, okay, why don't you do it? And I said, no, wait a minute, I'm not a counselor. He said, sure you are. Everybody's always talking to you about their problems. And I thought, yeah, including him. So I thought, well, you know what? I know more than the guy he hired. That's all I needed. And I said, okay, well, I'll do it for a while. And why? Because I was really concerned about the clients. They had paid money. They weren't getting the service that they'd paid for. And that's really the reason why I did it, because it wasn't anything other than that. It certainly wasn't money. So anyway, one week they came in and they saw me as the office manager assistant. And the next week they came in and I said, well, I'm going to be your counselor. And the man I was telling you about earlier, the one that was going to jump off the bridge, he sat there and he looked at me and he had this immaculate suit. I mean, this guy was wealthy. He didn't need to be working, 3 kids in Harvard. He said, well, exactly what is it that you're going to do for me, Nancy? And inside I was thinking, I don't have a clue. But I said, well, I'm going to help you find a job you really like, Bill. So 9 months later, he had 2 good offers, and he did take a job. And he went to work for a small bank as a VP. See, he wanted the status. He had to have the VP. I knew even then instinctively that was not really what he ought to be doing, but I didn't know enough even to articulate it. Well, 2 years later, he came in and he talked to me and he said, you know, Philip, my oldest son's graduated from Harvard and we're going to go into business together. I said, really? What are you going to do? He said, we're going to be financial planners. I said, that's it. That's exactly what you ought to be doing. See, why? This was a real straight-shooting Dutch guy. He couldn't handle the politics and the machinations of the bank. He was over in Manila, for heaven's sakes, with all the political stuff that went over there with the Marcos regime. And that's why he was out of sync. See, he was not a political guy. He was a really good financial guy, really good banker. He needed to have clients. But see, that was very young in terms of those days. There weren't a lot of financial planners. There was not a lot of client-based businesses in those days. Now, of course, it's all over the place. It's the coming thing. Everybody has clients, which is just going to go on and on. That's not going to end because the thing people want is personal attention to solve their problems. And if you can solve their problems, whatever those problems are, they will hire you. And that is the coming thing. So he was way, way, way ahead. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is stop and have each one of you do a short exercise. You may not have time to finish all of it, but I know some of you would like to have me work with you individually, and that's also a lot of fun for everybody. So I'm going to have Patrice and Adrian pass out. It's 1 page, and I've taken this as excerpts from Work with Passion in Midlife and Beyond, just to show you what the clues are to passion, what to look for. So I'm going to give you about 10 minutes for you to fill this out. And as I say at the top of the page, don't think too much about these questions. You can always change it when you get home tonight. Okay, so I'll give you 10 minutes.
Tell them that if they don't have enough, just to let us know.
If you don't have enough, please let us know so we can make more copies. Fill in the blanks.
I'm happiest when I'm creating,
Creating.
illustrating, drawing, writing.
And what are your values? What did you pick as your top 5 values?
Creativity, teamwork, compassion, altruism, and passion.
Aha. Well, you know, altruism and compassion, it's like an overstatement. Do you find that people tell you a lot of their problems?
All the time.
Well, you know, that can be a real hindrance to creativity because it can drain your energy.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that boundaries are an issue about being able to say no to people?
Not anymore. It used to be when I was younger. I mean, up until like the last couple of years, yeah.
And what was it that helped you to learn to draw the boundaries?
Because I was giving more of my time to them than I was seeking my own path.
Yes. One of the things that I've discovered with people who are compassionate, which all of my clients are and all of you are, I assume, is that it's very difficult how to turn off that giving and caring, and what changes from caring into rescuing and fixing people's problems, and the next thing you know, they're calling you all the time and you don't have time to create. Mm-hmm. Have you had anybody critique your work?
Yes.
And what has been the verdict?
Well, on my illustration, they can't believe that I can draw like that or paint like that.
And have you put it out in the marketplace yet?
I used to do it for 15 years in Chicago.
Okay, so now, is that what you want to do?
No, I want to write, and I have been writing.
Okay, that's very interesting because the visual does translate into the writing. So how about having a person critique your writing? Has that happened?
Yes,
Okay.
several times.
And what do they say that you should go to? Fiction, nonfiction?
Right now, I am writing nonfiction, but I have written some fictional short stories that people find pretty interesting.
Yeah, for you, I really think fiction, because you have such a mind full of images, and for you to create stories where you could just have the freedom. Nonfiction can be restrictive.
Well, you have to, for me, when I write nonfiction, it's about the facts. About the facts.
Correct. Well, I don't think that creative part of you is interested in facts
No,
at all.
no.
So make it up.
I did. I wrote a great short story about an angel who got in heaven because there weren't enough angels, and she should not have gotten in.
Well, see, you had to make.
But there was a shortage, so they had to lower the standards.
Oh God,
It's really
maybe
a great
there's
story.
maybe there's hope for me. I see.
I think it was autobiographical.
Well, autobiographical is everybody's autobiography, See, so I really think that you should just totally forgo the nonfiction. That's not the path. Because it's restricting that part of you that's so playful. See, your creative self is very playful.
Yeah, I want to be a stand-up comedian someday.
Well,
But I'm going to sit down doing it.
as I said, the main thing in the second half of life is that you've got to have focus. You can't. People have asked me a lot of times, can you have a lot of passions? Well, it depends on how good you want to be.
I find when I try to do, because I am a very good writer, I'm a very good business person, except when I was in business, I was doing marketing for small business people. I ended up doing everything for nothing because
Yeah.
I felt sorry for them because they were so clueless as to how to run their business.
Well, as I said,
Until I stopped.
I think if you make a business of writing, you see, where it's just you alone, you and you alone, because you're the type, you kind of porous, you're porous. And people you just sort of leak. If you don't have.
As I got older, I leak more.
Yeah. Well, the thing about people who are solos, though, and there are three types in work. There's a solo, there's a partner, there's a team. And see, you had on your list of values team thing. Take that off. It doesn't mean that you can't work with other people. But when you're creating a book, when you're writing a story, you're all alone. You're in total control. And I think the extroverted part of you gets a little lonely, and may push you to say, "Oh, well, let's call up somebody, go do something." See, and that you got to balance that.
I was referring to the teamwork part where there was a time when I used to create alone without showing and getting feedback. So that's what I was talking about.
Okay, well that's fine. I'm just talking about working with people to create something. You would dilute it. Okay, great. All right, next. You're on the right track. Yeah, you're welcome. Am I going to have to pick a volunteer? Yes. Your first name? Christy. And I am happiest when? Sorry? I can't hear you. Oh, you stand. Yes, I'm sorry. A little dense this morning. I think everybody can hear you better. So I'm happiest when? Fill in the blank.
I'm happiest when I'm interacting with people, inspiring others.
She can't. Is her mic on? You used it all up, Asha.
Work now? There it goes.
Yeah, okay.
I've never had a problem people hearing me. I am happiest when I'm interacting with people.
Would you consider yourself an extrovert?
Absolutely.
Yeah. How much time do you need alone? 50, let's say 100, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much time are you comfortable being alone? 30, 20%? What's the ratio? 60 alone,
No.
40? Okay.
I think I am the most alive in being with people. That's the gift I've been given.
And what are your values that you chose?
Inspirational, integrity, being in a place where I'm consciously aware of my growth and contributions in life, using my full potential.
And what are you doing now for a living?
Public relations.
Yeah. And have you considered speaking?
Absolutely.
And have you put yourself out there as a speaker?
I'm just now doing that.
Yeah, because I really think that's the path for you in the future. A wonderful voice, doesn't she? Yeah, very nice, very nice. A little bit more training, maybe. But I really think that you could take, because extroverts, I'm an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. Speaking, I can do some, but not much. I like the one-on-one, and I need a lot of solitude. But for someone like you actually get charged up.
Absolutely.
By being around a group, and then you feed off of their energy, right? See, so it's a natural for you at this stage of life for you to be using that inspiration that you're able to do for people to really develop a speaking career. You need to get some topics. Do you know what you would talk about yet?
It just has come to me, actually. It's something that in my spiritual growth, it just...
Well, tell me about your strengths that you picked. That's
communications is... was that the bottom one? Let's see, yeah. Insight into others,
and
spiritual awareness, spontaneity.
And where is the word that would imply toughness?
Toughness? I don't have that in here.
Yeah, I think that's what you're lacking. That because you're so approachable, that you may need to add a little edge on to the strengths. Like, for example, a word like firm as a strength, definite. You hear? Because too much the other way, it's not really tuning into the dark side of human nature. Because, see, someone like you would attract that. What are you going to do? How are you going to handle it? So toughness, have a tougher edge. To add that to your repertoire would get you all nice and aligned so that you would be safe, when you're going out there into the world. Because, you can attract a lot of crazy people.
That's true. No, I actually am worried about that, being able to handle when you want to help people.
Yeah.
And when you put yourself out there at that level, then people come to you for
Correct.
that. And how do you still give and not lose yourself?
Well, I would
recommend.
right now you're not ready for that. Right now it would overwhelm you. I would suggest that you take some sort of martial arts.
Whoa. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that you can have a sense of the energy when it's coming at you, how to either step away and let it go by or how to confront it so that it blocks you. Like, see, because as I said, you're just too approachable, and the more you get out there, the more people come toward you. I have a client in Romania who has the same problem you do. She's got into this spiritual helping people thing, and she contacted me through the website, and we've never talked. We just work by email. But I could tell right away it was boundary issues. She just did not know how, and she attracted, I think, every crazy person in Romania, that wanted to have her fix them because she's just so giving and loving, and she's also beautiful like you. See, so she was a magnet, and it just completely wiped her out. And she came to the conclusion she didn't want to have anything to do with people at all. See, which was the wrong conclusion. But it was because she didn't have this toughness to her personality, because she didn't want to hurt people. Right? Well, it's no accident she grew up in an alcoholic home. Because in an alcoholic home, you're trained to think about the person who's barging in on everybody. You're not trained to think about yourself and your own boundaries. So I would just say something that would toughen you up. Martial arts would be a start. If that's not it, maybe tennis, anything that makes you come to the net, makes you really be aggressive, brings out that part of you.
I have that part of me.
I'm sure you do.
I definitely do.
I know you do. You just have to activate it and know when to activate it, when it's appropriate. But to be able to read people, read a group, and to see, when they approach you, which one's going to give you some trouble and how to stop it in its tracks.
Okay.
Then you'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Well, Come on, this is your chance. I charge $150 an hour, people. Yeah, all the newbies. See, they're putting all of you to shame. Your first name is?
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. I'm
You're-
Susie.
you're-
Susie Shooter.
Your first name?
Susie.
Susan.
S-U-Z-I-E, right.
Okay, so you're happiest when?
When I am bringing innovative approaches to my field, which is medicine, and
You're bringing innovative what? Sorry.
approaches.
Approaches,
right.
okay, like techniques or
Well,
methods?
different
or,
ways of doing things.
and,
more
and your
innovative.
profession is?
I'm a doctor.
Okay, and what field?
I do, well, it's kind of my own field, psychoneuroendocrinology,
Okay,
and I look for underlying disorders that cause people to have psychiatric symptoms.
okay. And so when you did your values, did you have any of the values that are not being met in your current work?
I'm on a path, but I'm not there yet.
Well,
And-
can you be specific
okay, my values.
on your paper?
Right.
The 5 values you picked were,
Intellectual
Stimulation.
right? Helping others,
okay,
you know, to fulfill their goals. Financial security.
okay. And which of those values are not being met in what you're doing?
Let's see. Yeah. Well, the financial security right now, but it's
Can you be more? You mean say money or
money. Actually, money. Right.
money? Okay,
Right.
well, compensation and security are two different things.
Okay, right.
That's okay. Because it's important that security is about knowing what's going to happen.
Okay.
You know, right now the reason why the stock market and the world is in such a turmoil is because of the level of uncertainty. You know, because people don't want to make decisions if they're not going to know what's going to happen, right? So they hold on to the money, and when there's all these people sitting on a lot of cash right now.
Compensation would be what.
Okay, so compensation is the value that's not being met. Is there anything in what you do in terms of when people have complimented you, you know, the one thing I had there, what do people say that you do that is better than anyone that they know?
I'm able to help them in a way that nobody else can.
Okay, so how come that's not getting out there into the market, that message?
It's slowed down. I did start lecturing, and I lectured internationally to doctors, and
Uh-huh.
I'm very happy when I'm doing that.
Well, you should hook up with her
Yes, I
over
am.
here.
Okay.
Do you see? What you need is some help in terms of presentation.
Yes,
Because I'm sure you're a wonderful scientist, and you have a good mind, right?
yes.
Okay. An intellectual stimulation is high value, and you're probably more of an introvert.
No.
No?
Oddly, no. Right now I am, yes.
Well, one can't choose temperament. You know, you're born with it. So my hunch about you is that you're more introverted, but mainly what you need is how to put yourself in the marketplace so that people believe what it is you're saying, because right now they wouldn't believe it.
Right. Well, this is the first time I'm actually expressing it in front of a group of people.
Well,
so-
good for you. Yay. Well, that's what I meant earlier about love. You know, it's very scary when you're putting out what you really love and it's closest to your heart, and if somebody rejects that,
Well, it's also making a statement of what I want to do, and then I have to do it even more
well,
so because
there's
everyone's
that
watching,
too. Right. Yeah. And that's really why I have people do a lot of writing in my work with them, because when you write something, you've committed, you know, you can't take it back, as opposed to just saying you're going to do something, right?
Exactly. And especially if you say it to only one person, but if you say it in front of a bunch
Right.
of people.
So who do you know that's a really outstanding speaker?
Well, I can't think of one. Right. Oh, Tony Robbins has that.
Okay, well, besides Tony, a moment. That's not your style at all.
No.
Someone who's more, I would say, this group probably would be a tremendous resource for you because you guys have so many speakers, right? So perhaps if you could talk with Adrian and the two of you get your heads together and pick out a couple of people who are really very good speakers, very good presenters.
Right.
And even if you have to pay that person for his or her time, go and learn from them how to do what it is you need to do next in your career so that the money starts coming in. See, because if people don't know you exist, how can they pay you?
That's true. Very true.
But you want to be careful when you're putting yourself out into the market that everything you say is in perfect alignment with the values that you chose.
Right.
Because honestly, people that would be your target audience, they value money too. So they're probably going to be more high income earners.
Yeah, usually, right.
See? So if you know your niche in the market, like I know my client all the way down to, I can tell when they call me on the phone or whatever, I can hear it intuitively if we're going to be a match. Because usually they've gone to the trouble of doing some research, they've read one or two, both of the books, so they know something. So if you had something that people could read about you that would get them acquainted with you, but also if you really knew how to present yourself more powerfully.
To do what? To release myself?
To present yourself more powerfully, yeah.
Thank you.
But so that's really what I would suggest for you.
As I gather speed, I will become more.
Well, and especially if you work with somebody that's a pro at it, they can save you so much time and grief.
Shortcuts, yes.
The shortcuts. I mean, I tell people that. Why reinvent the wheel? Because when I was working on my second book, I hired 2 editors on my own to help me with it, even though I had one book out and it was doing fine. But each time I run up against these walls and I can't figure it out, and I say, I'm too close to it. So I hired these 2 women. They were just terrific. One was a nonfiction, one was a fiction editor. And boy, they saw right away what was wrong with the manuscript.
I think you've just identified one of my problems, which is a do-it-yourself kind of attitude.
Exactly. That you got to get over if you want to go to the top, because people at the top are not do-it-yourselfers.
No, it's hard to advance if you're doing everything yourself.
Well, we're all limited, aren't we?
Right. Time-wise and vision-wise.
Yeah, and I didn't know until the editor looked at the manuscript and she said, you got to start this off with a story. See, well, that's a fiction editor. See, she would have picked that up, and that's why I hired her, because I didn't want a nonfiction editor, because I knew the nonfiction editor would want me to start with facts.
Right.
And I already knew that was wrong, but I just didn't know how to begin it. So the fiction editor, right away, she said, the first chapter has got to be a story. Because she said, that's what draws me in. Once I got to your stories, Nancy, I really felt like I was drawn in. So see, that advice alone
It's worth it. Yeah.
was worth it. So yeah, I just think everybody, you should reach out to pros. And, if they're not the right one, go to the next one until you find the person that's got the answer. And then they'll just tell you. And you got to be open to hearing what you don't want to hear.
Usually, right? It's what you do need to hear when you don't want to hear it, right?
Yeah, because to tell you, if you put what you love in front of somebody, and if they're not the right kind of critic, they can destroy you.
Well, it's like having your child and say, how does he look? And the person says, well, he's kind of ugly. But
Yeah. Well, a constructive critic, listen, the constructive critic wants you to succeed.
Right.
They're not threatened by your success because they already are successful. They already feel good about themselves. A destructive critic, I've met some of those. I mean, they've been pretty successful, what you would think was successful, but they're not really doing what they want to do, and your success is very threatening to them, and so they'll put you down, or they'll.
So you're paying for someone to rip you apart.
Yeah, so you want to really look for your critic, that person's got their feet on the ground, and they're happy, and they're content, and they're really open to helping you, but they're going to tell it to you straight. Not going to soft pedal it. See, and that's what I mean. You want somebody who doesn't soft pedal it. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank
That was
you.
very brave of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello,
Hello. Your first name?
my name's Cappy.
Kathy. That's a very chipper name.
Yeah, thanks.
And I'm happiest when?
I'm happiest when I'm speaking and being a contribution to people.
And to what kind of people?
Well, I'm,
Adults?
yes.
Any age group?
Typically between 30 to 50.
Okay. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Entrepreneurs,
Okay.
business owners.
Well, see, that's helping. Get more specific. See how we get targeted here? Entrepreneurs doing what?
In their own business. So
Okay.
I do hypnosis and NLP, so I've been speaking for about 15 years.
Okay.
One of the things that I'm really getting more involved in that I'm really liking that's a little scary for me and kind of out of my box is as in a film recently, a motivational film, and now I'm hosting another film. And I love the camera film thing, but when I was young, I wanted to act. We kind of talked about that at our table.
Uh-huh.
But I've always been afraid to say that.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, what
It's
did your father do for a
scary.
living?
My father owned businesses. Yeah.
And was he supportive of?
No, not at all.
Because did you notice how the register in her voice went down when she?
gets embarrassing. I don't know why, because I'm very confident. I love what I do, and then yet when
Yeah,
I
well, don't
think about
don't underestimate the impact of a father who's
Oh.
disapproving.
huge daddy
See,
issues.
yeah.
I'm really aware of that. I do hypnosis for a living. Trust me. I've
Well, you
done
are
a lot of
not
dad stuff.
alone. You are not
Yeah,
alone. You know, the
major.
father, if you look at the father symbolically, which is what I do as an archetype,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm reading autobiographies, I'm looking at the father to see, did he take the risk that he needed to take? Did he live his own life? And did he encourage his children to live their own life?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay, if he doesn't come under those three, here you have the father who's hypercritical.
Abusive,
Abusive.
critical,
Okay,
very
that's a tip
unstable.
off to somebody who's not.
I could go on.
Yeah, well,
Not good.
he's not doing what he really wants to do. Okay, this has left a scar on your psyche.
Oh, definitely.
And now, to me, I think you should parlay that creatively and go after people who've had the similar kind of hypercritical parent
Yeah.
to help them to see how they could get over that.
Mm-hmm.
See, because the fear of there are 6 basic fears. The fear of criticism
Yes.
is one of the major in the
Yes.
culture. A fear of what somebody's going to say, what they're going to do, and especially, as I said, when you put your heart out there.
Yes. Yes.
See, so to track it back to the what the father said to you, and what is his first name?
Bert.
Bert?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bert. Yeah.
Okay, I want you to think of him from now on. Like when I have my clients write their autobiographies, I insist that they use first names for the parents.
Okay.
And that they do not use the mom, dad when
Oh,
we're
that's
working
good.
together. Why? Because, see, this creates a new category in your mind for them as people.
Mm-hmm.
Because if mom and dad, mother, father, it's loaded up with emotion.
Yeah,
See, and
very
you
true.
can't see the person clearly as long as you're calling them mother or father.
Right.
But once you write, Bert, you know, you just say it. And the same with your mother's first name?
Artie.
Now, did she collude with him? Did she allow him?
She was very passive. He ran the show. Everybody was scared to death of him. And
Okay.
she, you know.
Well, again, but you see, what you're up against is the inside of you,
Oh, absolutely.
the passive part of you that would be frightened of the aggressor.
Well, I think, took his role as a young girl and saw how my mom was treated, and I was like, screw that.
Yeah.
So I became very assertive
right.
and very driven
Right.
and married somebody very passive. Well, that didn't work.
Right.
And then, you know, I've been a single mother for 12 years, and my dad died about 10 years ago. So I've done a lot of, you know, healing
Yeah.
and work and talked to him, you know, spiritually, if you will. But, yeah, I completely agree with you. It's definitely
Yeah.
that little scared girl that still gets afraid. Like,
Right.
oh God,
Well,
you know. Yeah.
she will be less and less afraid if she knows that the part of you will stand up to the Berts of the world and tell them to go take a hike.
Yeah.
But as long as you're thinking of him as father, you know, when I have the clients write about these people, I try to get them to think as if they're a novelist and they're writing about characters in a story. Anything that helps you to detach so that you see the person. Like he owned businesses, and so he probably made money.
On and off.
On and
Did
off.
real well, real bad.
But did you, as a little girl, understand that his problem was his career? No.
No.
How could you?
No.
But if you could see that now, that really was the issue, was his work. And that's what I have found with most fathers who drink, who drug, who abuse, is they were not happy in their work. There were so many millions and millions of men who have been in jobs they absolutely hate. Well, I have to do it for her. I have to do it for the kids. See, so the kids and the wife, they take the abuse.
Right.
If you're watching the episodes of Mad Men, which I can't even watch after a couple of them, but you see it, the drinking
Right.
and the abuse and the
Yeah.
nastiness that was going on underneath the surface of that so-called, you know, 50s and
Right.
60s veneer.
Right.
And that's what you're up against. So I would recommend that you write the autobiography, starting with the grandparents.
Okay.
Call everybody by their first names. Just write the story.
I like it.
Notice what was his problem really, and see, you didn't have anything to do with that. And he was just
Right.
taking it out on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then once you do that, I mean, it's not going to happen like that,
Right.
but it gives you a lot more understanding for the misery that he was in.
Yeah.
And it's only after you understand the misery somebody's in that you can actually forgive them.
Yeah, it's true. Very
But you don't want to rush to forgiveness when somebody's hurt you like that, you know, because that's not giving yourself the compassion you need.
Right.
So I think if you get that block out of the way and actually take it, as I said, somehow or another incorporate it into your work, because so many people have this.
Absolutely. Oh, great. Thank you.
Good. All right. So how are we doing on time? 7 minutes? Okay. We've got time for a couple more then. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, by the way. That was very brave of you. Your first name?
Geraldine.
Geraldine. Okay. And you're happiest when?
Well, I'm the happiest when I am with my daughter and my husband traveling somewhere, and we're combining.
Okay. So tell me about your values that you picked, Geraldine, the 5 values.
Well, independence, flexibility, inspiring, intellectual stimulation,
And the work that you're doing now gives you those values?
and charity. Yes, and I was thinking about the independence and the flexibility. Maybe they are kind of,
Not enough of that?
well, or kind of the same, similar?
Well, not really.
Okay, so.
Independence means that you're free from the control of others. Free from the control of others.
Okay.
So it's a really powerful value that I'm sure a lot of you in this room have. You know, that urge to be free. So it could be just, I know you told me that your daughter is small now. That could be part of it, that it's just you need to wait about 5 more years for her to get a little older. Can you handle that?
Yes.
Well, you're the one that decided to have her, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't rush your fences. Don't rush your fences. I think that maybe what you're doing is rushing a little bit or pushing too hard. You know, do you tend to be a perfectionist?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, perfectionism is good when you're working on a project and you want to get it perfect, but it's not good when you're treating yourself that way. Right? Because we're not perfect. We're work in progress. So I think that because you're so conscientious, that you tend to be really hard on yourself and expect a lot of yourself. So perhaps if you could every day write down what it is that you've done just wonderfully today and focus on that, that'll give you a little more patience with the time that has to go by before you can really get all of your values met. Because it's really just a matter of time for you. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. One more. Okay, your first name?
Testing. Gaddy.
Gaddy. Okay. I'm happiest when?
I'm happiest when I'm riding my motorcycle.
Yay! You like to move around. So, you know, you can tell by looking at him, he's a kinesthetic guy. You get more creative as you move around. Are you in sales? Are you outside a lot in your work or not?
Yes.
Okay. So
I have a retail store and I do a lot of the outside work.
good. Well, and so tell me your values.
Truth, congruence, consistency, being
Okay.
the same person, dependability, creativity with purpose,
Okay.
and learning, curiosity.
Is there anything in your work that you're doing now that's not giving you those values? What would you want
Yes.
more
Well-
of? What would you want more of?
The value, dependability. I find myself getting distracted really easily, and my follow-through sucks.
Well, why are you trying to do more than you can handle? Is that a habit that started when you were young?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you'll like me if I say yes.
No, I won't. I won't.
Well, you will until I don't follow through, but you'll like it when I say yes.
So you really want the immediate gratification of the approval.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Is that the way your father was or your mother? Which one was like that?
I'm a mother.
Okay. So if you copy a parent whose behavior doesn't work, you're in big trouble. Okay. So well, see, the flush
raised my hand?
the flush in the face. The flush in the face means that his inner self heard every word I said and has been trying to tell him that for a long time and said, thank you, Nancy, for telling him because I can't get through to him.
Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, so I want to give you permission that saying no is actually good for the person you're saying no to, who's asking something that's unrealistic. And why is that? Why is it good to say no to the person who's asking for something that's unrealistic?
You know, this it's like, I see your lips moving, and then by the time it gets to my brain, it's and that's a very clear sentence.
Well, here you are looking at the power of conditioning. See? This is the power of conditioning. This is not about, people say, well, if I just knew what I wanted to do, I would do it. Ha! It's not true. See, because we're talking about your subconscious has accepted as true that it's good to say yes to everybody because your script, you know, in Work with Passion and Work with Passion, the second book, son of, mother of, or I say that the main script in people like you is that I can't be happy if they're not happy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
See, his subconscious accepts that as truth, a fact. That's the basis of a script. Okay, to change a script, you have to get inside the subconscious and convince the subconscious that that statement is not true. It's illogical. How can you make someone happy? How can anyone make anyone happy? You all wrote down what makes you happy. Look at it. Who can make you feel that other than you? Adrian? No, really, logic. Let's get down to the intellectual part of this. This is logic.
Well, from an emotional point of view, I'm in service work, so when I have done my job, people are thrilled.
Well, okay,
So
but
they get happy and they say thank you.
well,
thank
yeah,
you."
but there's limit and there's a limit. See,
I understand.
what you have is the belief that you have this cornucopia of energy and you're never going to run out. Wrong. See, your body will take you out if you don't change. It will flatten you so that you will stop. So don't wait until your body takes over, gives you some kind of puts you in breaks a leg or something, because a lot of injuries and accidents are the body's way of making you hold still. And because you're the kinesthetic type, it's even harder for someone like you. See, because you like to move around. But I just think that your work would be in the area of writing down a sentence that is true, that describes boundaries accurately, that challenge the script, I can't be happy if they're not happy. Who are they? Who are you talking about? You know, be specific. Because you'll always notice it's the same people, right, that always want you to make them happy. The people who are really healthy and self-sufficient, they don't expect you to make them happy, do they? But who expects you to make them happy? See, if you can make a list of those people, going back to your parents, your siblings, see, who expected me to make them happy? And then you make a type. That's a character type. That's what writers do when they're creating a backstory. Those are the people you're magnetized to with that belief. You go right to trying to make those people happy. Well, nobody can ever make those people happy. Haven't you noticed?
Yes. But I won't give up.
There's the subscript. That's the subscript to I can't be happy when they're happy, and by God, I'm not. That is a total failure script.
What happened to persistence and stick-to-itiveness as ideals?
Listen, some people it's appropriate to quit. That is the actual healthy thing to do: is leave, quit, stop.
Persistence down the wrong road.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, I have noticed that we have time, and so you've just been a wonderful audience. Thank you. I'll be out. Thank you. Thank you.